Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Economy, premium economy, business class, and first class. Have you ever been looking at booking an international flight and thought to yourself, what is the difference between economy and premium economy, or business class and first class? In this video, I'm going to go over the 4 different classes when traveling internationally, and then hopefully by the end of the video, you can figure out exactly which one actually works out best for you in your situation. You can determine whether or not it makes sense to fork up either more cash or more points to actually do this international trip. Now, before I go into the different classes of flying, there's definitely going to be different variables depending on which airline you choose. If you happen to be flying on business class with TAP Airways as compared to business class with Qatar Airways, they're not going to be made equally. So just know that I'm giving like a rough estimate on what it's going to be like to fly in these different classes, and then hopefully you can have a good understanding of what it's going to be like for your experience. So first, we're going to look at flying in economy. Now, I'm assuming for everyone who's watching this video, they've already flown economy, at least domestically. So if you've already flown economy domestically, just expect a very similar type of experience when going internationally. The big difference is that it's going to be a much longer time on the plane. So if you are going to be flying from Los Angeles over to either Europe or to Asia, you're looking at 10 plus hours in an economy seat. Now, some of the differences between economy domestically and economy internationally may end up being the layout of the plane. There probably going to end up being more economy seats when you end up looking at international flights. And when it comes to the size of the seats, it's going to be about the same. Economy seats are going to be small. I know that from my own experience when I've flown in economy, usually when I'm flying in economy, at about 4 to 5 hours, I tend to start to feel uncomfortable. Now, I'm someone who's 5'10", and I weigh about 175 pounds. So if you happen to be someone who's taller than me or happens to be someone who's a little bit heavier than me, I can understand how you can start to feel really uncomfortable in an economy seat, especially if you end up doing a really long flight. Now, when flying in international economy, you will be given food service throughout the flight. So as compared to when you fly in domestic economy, you usually have to pay for additional food outside of snacks. But with international economy, you will be getting yourself either dinner or lunch or breakfast, depending on what times you're flying. And then with this service, you're going to usually have, I've noticed, maybe like 3 options or sometimes 2, but it usually end up being 2 different meat options, either beef or chicken, and then you'll end up having a vegetarian option. Now, when it comes to meals, flying in economy internationally, I've had terrible meals. Like the time I flew on United, I remember thinking if I wasn't starving, there's no way I would be eating this. But I've also actually had some really good experiences, like when I flew on economy with Japan Airlines, and I remember that meal being quite good. And honestly, if I had the same options that I had for Japan Airlines, flying internationally in economy for every single economy flight, then I would not be disappointed because I thought those meals were definitely really, really good. You're also going to have drink options, but again, it is going to be limited. But you should have at least 1 beer or wine option that's going to be available to you in economy. And unlike domestic economy flights, your alcoholic drinks will be complimentary with this flight. Now, when it comes to entertainment options, you should have a small screen on the seat in front of you that's going to have different movies and TV shows. And usually it's a pretty good selection for things you may want to watch. However, the screen is going to be small, and then the headphones that they are going to give you are going to be tiny little earbuds. You are going to be able to hear things fine, but when it comes to just like a full immersive experience, you're not going to be able to get those from those tiny earbuds. So I would say if you happen to be traveling international in economy, bring your own noise cancellation headphones because it's just going to give you a much better traveling experience. I don't think anyone typically finds flying internationally in economy a comfortable or an enjoyable experience. It's just going to end up being the cheapest way to get from point A to point B, and usually about halfway through the flight, you're already ready to get off the plane and just can't wait to hurry up and get to your destination. Next, we're going to look at premium economy. Now, international premium economy is actually something that I have not flown before, but I've flown on things that have been very similar to it, such as domestic first class, which tends to have a very similar seat and very similar service when it comes to what you end up getting as compared to premium economy. So the big difference between premium economy and economy is going to be the amount of space you end up getting with your seat, and then also the amount of leg room you end up getting. Because typically you end up getting at least about 6 inches more when it comes to leg room when you're looking at premium economy versus economy. Also, you're gonna get yourself a wider seat along with additional recline with the seat. And then for many airlines, they actually have a footrest where you can end up putting your feet on to have an even more comfortable traveling experience. Now, when it comes to amenities, you're usually gonna get yourself increased luggage allowance, priority boarding, an enhanced menu that gives you more options, and usually a meal that's going to be on a plate as compared to those meals that are given to you in those microwavable plastic containers. You will also get yourself a larger screen for your entertainment system, better headphones, and a smaller cabin, which means that you should end up getting yourself better service from the flight attendants since they have less people that they need to take care of, and also should end up being a little bit quieter since there isn't as many people in your cabin. Now, the cost between flying in premium economy versus economy is going to vary depending on which airline and also when you end up booking this flight. But I've noticed that if you end up booking months in advance, on average, I found that it ends up being about twice the cost as normal economy. Now, when I flew domestic first class, which ends up being very similar to flying in premium economy, there was never a point where I felt uncomfortable in my seat and wanted to get off the plane. It is definitely a major upgrade from being in just normal economy. So if you happen to be a larger person or you happen to have a really long flight, it might make sense to fork over the additional dollars so you can end up having a comfortable travel experience. Next, we're gonna look at business class, and business class is where it's at. If you wanna have your seat on an international flight turn into a fully flat bed, then business class is what you're gonna wanna choose. Now, you may hear a lot of different people say that they flew first class internationally, but chances are they probably were actually flying in business class, but just didn't realize that the business class is considered business class as compared to first class, because actually not that many airlines even offer first class, but many airlines that offer business class are trying to give people a first class experience. For most business class products, usually it starts before you can get on the plane. You will have your own check-in line, and at that check-in line, you actually get yourself a higher allowance for the amount of bags you end up bringing, and also you get yourself international lounge access, either the lounge connected with your airline or a partner airline if your airline doesn't happen to have a lounge at that airport. And in the business class lounge, you get yourself a comfortable place to sit along with complimentary drinks and food just before your departure. And when it's time to board, you're gonna have priority boarding. You're either gonna end up being in group 1 or group 2, depending on if this airline has a first class product. And when you actually end up getting on the plane, the first thing you're gonna notice is how much more space you have as compared to in economy or in premium economy. It is night and day when it comes to the difference, because you're just gonna have so much more space. And usually you're gonna end up having aisle access. And what this means is that regardless of which seat you choose, you're gonna be able to access the aisle if you wanna go to the bathroom without needing to bug your neighbor if they happen to be in a lay flat seat or if they happen to be sitting normal. Now, this ends up being great because I'm someone who loves the window seat, but one thing that I don't like about being in the window seat is having to bug people when I need to go to the bathroom. But when you're in a business class seat that has aisle access, it doesn't matter if you have a window seat, because you can still access the aisle without needing to bother anyone else on the plane. And if you happen to choose a seat that is beside someone, but it isn't someone that you are flying with, there's usually gonna be an option to put up a divider. So if you want more privacy, chances are with a business class seat, you're gonna get yourself considerably more privacy as compared to anything in premium economy, and especially in economy. The stewardess will come over to you, introduce themselves, and ask them what you would like for your pre-drink departure. Usually they'll take yourself a glass of champagne while everyone else is boarding in the back of the plane. The menu is going to be way better when it comes to food and drink options, and depending on which airline you're flying with, you may also end up getting options for like caviar and also crab. So business class options when it comes to meals are definitely going to be much more luxurious as compared to premium economy or economy. The screen for your entertainment system is going to be a lot larger than in premium economy and economy, and then you're also going to be given noise cancellation headphones. Now, the noise cancellation headphones do need to be returned at the end of the flight, but what you don't need to return is going to be the amenity kit that's given to you. And this is going to have different things such as like socks, different fragrances that you could put on yourself, toothbrush, all these different little amenities that you may want to use while either on the plane or after you end up getting to your destination. Now, I've noticed that business class flights typically end up costing about twice the amount as premium economy. I've seen normally about somewhere between like $3,000 all the way up to $5,000 each way is what it's gonna cost for a business class flight. So just know that it is going to be expensive. But if you're someone who wants to have a comfortable luxury experience on a plane with the option for a lay flat bed, then business class is gonna be the way to do that. And lastly, we're going to look at first class. Now, first class is going to be, I think, very similar to business class, but just to the next level. As I said earlier, when you actually look online, you end up seeing people saying that they're flying in first class, or things that you might think actually are first class. A lot of times it actually ends up being business class, because not that many airlines offer first class. First class is only offered when there's already business class there, but the product or the plane decides that they actually want to have an even higher level of luxury when it comes to someone traveling with them. So just like with business class, with first class, it starts before you get on the airplane. And with some first class services, they actually could bring you to the airport itself as part of the first class service. Now, it's going to be a first class check-in lane, and for some first class products, they'll actually escort you right to the first class lounge. And when it comes to boarding, you're going to be priority number 1. You're going to be the first group getting on the plane, and then once you get onto the plane and see your seat, immediately you're going to notice how much space you have. You're just going to have an enormous amount of space, and in some first class products, the amount of space is so large that you can actually sit with another person across from you and have a meal with him. This is how much space you're going to have with your first class seat. The seat you have is going to turn to a lay flat bed, but with first class products, what you end up getting offered as well is a mat to put on top of the seat to make your bed even more comfortable. When it comes to drink options, it's going to be top shelf product. You're going to be offered things like Dom Perignon and Johnny Walker Blue, and also some things that you may have never even heard of that's going to be incredibly expensive, such as like some Japanese whiskeys or like Salon champagne that ends up being $1,100 a bottle. You're going to be offered caviar, a multi-course meal, and since there's even fewer people in first class, you're going to get even more attention from the stewardess for whatever needs that you may require. Now, on some first class products with larger planes on the A380s, you're going to have options for a shower. With Singapore Airlines, you can actually grab 2 seats, turn into one big long bed if you happen to be flying with a partner or a loved one. There may be a bar on the plane if you wish to sit and relax at the bar. And some first class products also offer complete privacy, so if you actually want to shut yourself off from the rest of the plane, you can sit in your chair and then just shut the door and almost feel like you're on your own private jet, since you don't have to be bothered by anyone else on the plane. You're going to be given pajamas that you get to keep. It's just going to be an ultra luxury travel experience. Now, there aren't that many first class products out there, but when I end up looking at first class products, the cost ends up being usually about double what you end up seeing for business class. So I've seen first class products range from somewhere along the lines of like $7,000 each way, all the way up to $15,000 each way. So now that I went over the 4 different products, which one does it make sense for you to choose? Well, for most people, it's gonna make sense to choose economy just because of the fact that you don't want to blow your entire travel funds with the flight to get over to the destination. And the thing about economy is, while it may not be very comfortable, you're going to be arriving at the exact same time as the person who's in first class. Economy is going to get the job done, which is to get you to the destination that you wish to be at, and you can enjoy the time where you're actually at that location. Premium economy, I think, could definitely be worth it for the cost. Now, while I've never flown internationally in premium economy before, I could easily see myself in an international premium economy seat being completely comfortable during the entire trip. Now, the reason why I probably wouldn't end up doing this myself is because I'm too cheap, and because I'm too cheap, I wouldn't want to have to pay this much more money, but it's not because I don't think that the product is good enough or that the product isn't worth it. Say you happen to be flying to Australia on a 15-hour flight. If you happen to be in premium economy, you're gonna be so much more thankful that you chose premium economy as compared to being in an economy seat and just being completely uncomfortable and miserable for half of the flight at least. Now, business class is definitely better than premium economy. Who doesn't want to have a lay flat bed on a plane for a 13 or 14-hour flight? And business class for a lot of airlines is the top level that you're going to be able to have as an option when flying with them. Every single time that I fly business class, I enjoy my travel experience. So it's not about me getting to the destination, it's about actually enjoying this experience, getting to that destination, and then also enjoying the location that I actually am visiting. Now, I don't have the funds to be able to afford to book business class flights with my own cash, but I am able to do it with credit card points, and I definitely think that it's worth it using your credit card points to fly internationally in business class. I love being able to enjoy the traveling to the destination and not just hoping that I get to jump off that plane and then just hurry up and be at the location. Now, when it comes to first class is just incredibly expensive. You're gonna have to be rich to be able to book first class flights when it comes to with your own cash, because if you end up doing a round trip in first class flight, I mean, that's gonna be more money than many Americans make in like half of a year. Now, I have experienced first class, and the way that I've been able to do that is with credit card points. So one of the questions that I do get asked is first class worth it as compared to business class? And in my opinion, I think that it is very similar. While first class is definitely better, I think that if you were someone who happens to be able to get themselves a business class flight and then sees that first class end up being significantly more points, then I would just say go with the business class, because you're probably gonna have a pretty darn good experience in business class, and you won't really be missing out on that much when it comes to the first class. Yes, first class is going to be a great experience, and I think that if you happen to be someone who can earn points very quickly, then I would go with the first class. Or if you happen to be going for a specific occasion, such as like a honeymoon or an anniversary, then I definitely say go for that first class flight. But as a whole, if I end up seeing first class being significantly more than a business class, I say just go with the business class, because the products are just too similar when it comes to what you're gonna end up getting from first class as compared to business class, unless you're someone who can really tell a difference when it comes to luxury. But that's it. That is my breakdown of flying in the 4 different classes when flying internationally. Let me know in the comment section down below. Have you ever flown in first class, business class, premium economy, or have you only ever flown in economy when it comes to international travel? And do you actually think that it's worth it to go up to first class as compared to business class? Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do happen to have any questions, drop those down in the comment section down below and I'll do the best I can answer them. If you happen to be interested in any credit cards, check out my referral links in the description box. If you decide to use them, it will really help out the channel, and I'll be incredibly thankful for your support. If you happen to really like this video, then please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.